Hey everybody. So I just got back from a solo trip to England, and I thought I'd come on here and make a quick video of some of my top solo travel tips. Um, yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to do a fair amount of traveling over the years, sometimes with friends and family, and sometimes on my own. So I'll try to make this video pretty quick because I, like everybody else, have the attention span of a fruit fly. So let's just get into it. Oh, but please do try to stick around to the end because that's where I have my favorite tip that, to be honest, I've never heard anybody really recommend before. And also stay to the end because it hurts my feelings when I find out people haven't watched my videos all the way through. Anyways, okay, so my first tip is if you've never traveled on your own before and you've been thinking about doing it, whether you can't find anybody else to travel with or you just want to try something a little different, go out of your comfort zone, but you're feeling a bit nervous about it, I would suggest maybe for your first solo trip to go someplace that you have been before, someplace that you feel comfortable in, so that way you're eliminating that part of the stress of travel and just finding out how comfortable you are just doing it on your own. But that being said, you should go wherever you want to go. And then my next tip is travel light. And this is a tip for anybody traveling, but especially if you're traveling on your own. Try to get it down to your carry-on and your personal item. I like to take a backpack as my personal item. And that way you're saving yourself some money. You don't have to wait at the airport for your baggage to come through. You don't have to worry about lost luggage. And but yeah, when it's just you, you don't want to be lugging around tons of baggage. I've done Europe for up to 2 weeks with just a carry-on and a backpack, and you just figure out ways to do laundry, and you'd be surprised how much stuff you don't actually need to bring with you. And then the next tip is sort of having a backup plan for valuable things. So like your passport, take a picture of it, have as a backup just in case you get lost. And then in terms of like credit cards and stuff, I know a lot of people have credit cards on your phone, but I would also bring a backup, like an actual credit card, just in case something happens to your phone, dies or whatever. And ideally, like a credit card that's different from the one that you have on your phone. I know years ago I was traveling and I stupidly only brought one credit card, and it ended up getting declined because there had been fraud on it, and called the credit card company, but there's nothing they can do but reissue a new card. And when you're in a different country, that's pretty useless. Fortunately, I was not traveling on my own at that time, so I had someone else who could help me out. But ever since, I always make sure I have, 2 credit cards, storing them in different locations. I always have a little bit of local currency on hand, that kind of thing. And I like to make sure things are kept in safe places. I mean, once you get to your hotel, you can usually put things away in a safe or something, but on your travel day, you want to make sure everything's safe and secure. I have this money belt that I've had for more than 30 years. I took it on my very first trip to Europe with one of my besties, and it served me well. But this has been a game changer. I got this a few years ago, and it has this great little hidden pocket in it. I love keeping my passport in there. I don't know if anybody else suffers from this weird passport anxiety, but when I have it on me, like I used to keep it in my money belt, but it's not that comfortable, so I take it off and put it in my backpack. But I felt the need to constantly check that it was still there. I don't know why, but while I'm waiting for the plane, I check it's still there. While I'm on the plane, I check it's still there. Now I put it in this thing, and when the anxiety comes up, like, you still have your passport, I can just give it a quick squeeze. I can feel it's there, relax. It's great. Obviously, this isn't the best item for if you're traveling someplace hot, but I love having it. It's just great. I keep my passport and credit card in there when I'm flying. If you need to pay for something with credit card, it's just right there. You don't have to rifle through purses or backpacks or whatever. So I just love this thing. But yeah, try to not store all your valuables in one space, because if something happens to that item, then you're kind of hooped. And like say when you're on your own, it's just you to figure it out. So my last travel tip might sound a bit odd and maybe overkill, but for a person who does have some anxiety and no directional sense whatsoever, I found this tip to be very helpful. Now, obviously, almost all of us have a phone, and that phone has some kind of maps, whether it's Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever. I've been traveling long before that existed, so it is an absolute godsend because I remember days of lugging around a big travel book and paper maps and all that. So, having that on your phone is fantastic. But what I like to do before I leave on my trip is I like to go on Google Maps, and if I know certain places that I'll be going, so like for example on this latest trip I flew into London, and then went into Victoria Coach Station, and then my hotel was about a 5-minute walk from there. So I like to go on Google Maps before I leave, so I would put in Victoria Coach Station, put in the address of my hotel, and then I like to go on Google Street View and kind of almost like do a walkthrough. And I just find that's helpful rather than, you've got all your luggage, you're trying to find your way to your hotel. You don't want to, be distracted kind of looking at your phone. And then it also, especially when you're on your own, you don't want to look like any kind of target for anybody who might be a pickpocket, or like even there's just scammy people out there. They'll be like, oh, hey, you look lost, blah, blah. So if I've kind of like already mapped it out in my head, if that makes sense, and done the street view where you can kind of see like, oh, okay, I walk out and then I go past this store, and you kind of have already seen where you're going, so you can sort of like just walk with a little bit more confidence. And you might have all your luggage, but you don't necessarily look like a tourist. You could just be someone coming home. And I think when you're alone, you wanna look confident. You don't want to be distracted. You don't ever want to set yourself up as any kind of a target. And then even I had, if I knew I was going like from my hotel to, like I went to a play near the London Eye, so I could go on Google Maps, and it literally told me like, getting there on the tube, like, okay, here's how you get to the tube station, and then this is the train that you want. It even told you like the platform you wanted to go to and where to change trains, etc. So then again, I can just go out and without like being that person like looking like, I don't know if you've ever been to London and looked at the tube maps, but they look complicated. It's actually quite easy, but then I can just like go with confidence, and then you look more like a local, which is always nice. And you can have that confidence, and you don't look like a target, and those are always good things when you're on your own. I've never had any problem. I've always, there's lots of scammers out there, just kind of ignore them or whatever, but I do know of people who when traveling did have things stolen or whatever, and this isn't to scare anybody, but it was literally mostly just because they were distracted and not paying attention. Like one lady literally had her purse hanging off the back of her chair, so someone just took it. So keep an eye on your valuables. If you've got like a little backpack and maybe you're sitting somewhere, if you put one leg through the strap of the backpack, nobody can walk off with it. So just try to be mindful of your surroundings, mindful of your things, but yeah, I think I can speak extensively about different things about solo travel, but I wanted to keep this pretty short. So, if anybody is interested in any other tips on travel in general or solo travel, feel free to leave some in the comments, and maybe I'll make a few more videos on this if anybody's interested. And that's all I have to say. Have a great day.